Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. This is the D.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
And Becky, I think this is the first chef we've ever had on the podcast.
And I don't know why it took us so long, because you know I'm always talking about food and where I eat.
You
so
are.
About time.
And we got a good one, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were holding out for the best.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. We have today on the show Chef Maxell Hardy. He runs River Bistro over on the west side, which was just named to the Free Press's annual list of best new restaurants. Yeah. COOP, Caribbean Fusion, right, over at the Detroit Shipping Company. Yeah. And I hear rumors that there may be a third one on the way.
It's true.
So we will have to find that out. You may also know him because he had a stint on the Food Network's Chopped. Chef Max, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. What's up?
Oh, we're excited to have you. You are one of these guys who started in Detroit.
Yeah.
Left.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And came back.
Absolutely. I'm back home.
So we're going to get into the whole story, but let's start with the restaurants that you've got here in Detroit now.
Absolutely.
Starting with River Bistro.
Yep. River Bistro is kind of our baby. It was the first one that we launched, as the whole restaurant group, is forming. It's a Caribbean and soul fusion in Rosedale Park. So we wanted to get back to the west side where I'm from, and then put a restaurant that's sustainable for the community to introduce kind of the new food movement of Detroit. So what better way to bring it back to the area I was from?
So talk about that. When you say sustainable for the community, what does that mean?
I mean, so to put out a great product. When you think of Detroit and the west side of Detroit in that area, you think of, Coney Islands and all the fast food stuff and all the fish fry stuff. And so to be able to put a restaurant in that's, that can help sustain, our community is great. And one, it's cost effective. So you can get the same kind of meal you would get if you're in Midtown, downtown for $14 versus $25. So just a little bit different feel and something that's affordable for the community. And in a great setting, to walk into a restaurant of that caliber where communal tables, the vibe's right, put a little love into this whole layout of the restaurant. So it kind of gave you a different look.
Nice. I really applaud you for that, because with your caliber of cooking and your history, it would have been very easy for you to say, let's put something in Midtown and cash in that way.
Yep, right.
So I think that's awesome.
Good.
And let's talk about COOP as well.
Yeah, COOP is, actually COOP was the first concept that I formed when I said I would open a restaurant. And I was always against opening a restaurant my whole entire career. I was like, I'm a personal chef. I'm just travel, do that, write books, and, have fun on that side. When I left the casinos and hotel, I really didn't want to open a restaurant. But I was like trying to figure out what's the next move for me, just as a personal chef, I charge so much for a personal, to come cook for you. And so the everyday person can't, touch me. So I'm like, all right, let's do a restaurant. So I developed the concept 5 years ago. And so it was just sitting in the archives, kind of just waiting for the right opportunity. And the guys from Shipyard called and said, would you be interested in moving back to Detroit? It's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it, And so we did a few pop-up dinners, and but the concept is really cool. It's a Caribbean fusion, paying homage to a lot of other islands besides just Bahamas and Jamaica. Everyone thinks, Caribbean and only equates it to Jamaican food, but
right.
I'm like, you got 500 islands that's right in, Bahamas is on. So paying a little homage to Trini, a little DR, got empanadas on the menu, so a little Puerto Rican love there. Jerk chicken, of course. So, of course, Jamaican love. But then you got some guava. So you playing St. Croix, St. Thomas, and we got conch with me on the weekends. And so, real fun kind of street food fare and in a cool little place.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, the Detroit Shipping Company has multiple restaurants within it.
Yep.
And I have to tell the story that I went in there for dinner one night and I wanted to go to COOP, but the line was too long.
Right.
And I had a set time because I had to meet somebody. So I was like, well, I guess I got to go to another place. Right. That was excellent.
Right.
But then as I was leaving, I saw my friend Wayne Ramakin, who's in the band One Freak, a local musician. He's all around town. And he was eating the chicken. I was like, is that jerk chicken? And I was so jealous. And he's like, yeah, it was really good. It's just the bones left.
Well, you got to come on back.
I know. I'll be back.
Get you in the VIP line.
Okay, good.
Can you give us the crash course in Caribbean food for people who haven't experienced it before? What do they need to know?
I mean, well, so Caribbean food is kind of similar to soul food, right? But just it's it's a soul food of the Caribbean, right? So a lot of spices, a lot of herbs, a lot of fresh ingredients. And then when you think of Caribbean, you think of just all those, amazing fruits and spices that's naturally grown and indigenous to that, that island or that culture. So when I think of Caribbean food, just growing up, I knew Bahamas, as Caribbean. But then I started spreading my wings. It's like, okay, there's a lot of coconut out there. There's a lot of curries and curries from all over the world. All spices we use a lot. Cinnamon is used a lot. Jackfruit, you just name it, cassava. And so it's a lot of those true ingredients that is indigenous to those islands and that gets imported and exported out.
I heard something about conch. Don't you do some conch when you can get it?
Yeah, so conch is one of the things that,
okay.
one of the things that that I love, and I try to put on the menu as much as possible. It's hard to get it really fresh here.
Yeah.
So if my mom's coming from Bahamas, or I got friends coming from Miami, I make sure they bring up some.
Mm-hmm.
I have an aunt that lives in Detroit that's from Bahamas, so she's going back and forth a lot. So when I can get it, I get it. And,
get your fix.
Yeah.
What about other ingredients? Are you able to start sourcing a lot from around here, or
no?
do you have to?
It's been tough.
Okay.
Like just even like the jerk seasoning that we use. We almost have to buy a pallet at a time just because they won't.
Wow.
We can't get it here.
Yeah.
And it's so tough to make it because some of those ingredients you can't find in Detroit and it doesn't grow here.
When you say tough to get here, is that stateside or is that in Detroit?
In Detroit specifically.
What makes it tough to get?
Because it's really not a big Caribbean, importing into Detroit. So you don't have a lot of restaurants.
Just
you have
supply
a lot
and demand.
Yeah. So, the closest thing you get to a lot of the Caribbean is, Southwest. So I go there and find, the cheeses I need, the guava I need. And then there's a few Caribbean markets in town, one or two that has some good product. But it's very tough to kind of source locally. Yeah.
I see a new business in you.
Yeah, no. Don't give me any more ideas.
You don't have enough things to do.
Right.
But there's been a little bit on the production side. You some urban farming and some other initiatives that you've been involved with?
Yep. So on the block I grew up on, I bought 4 lots. And so over the next year or so, we're just continuing to kind of just cultivate the land and see what we want to do. It went from urban farming to now maybe, doing a park. When I was growing up, we always had basketball courts up and down, but there's no more basketball courts in the area. So I'm like, maybe I'll do a basketball court and go, get it back in shape a little bit. But yeah, so we're just trying to play with different ideas and what we want to do.
Right.
It definitely will be a grow house there. We have 4 shipping containers as well. So it'll be a grow house out of one of them here soon.
Nice.
Let's trace your career a little bit.
Yep.
Because like we said, you are from Detroit and left.
Yep.
And you went to Miami. Talk.
Yeah, so I left and went to Tampa, actually, and finished up high school in Tampa. Went to a culinary high school. Went to high school that had a culinary school in it.
Oh.
Played basketball. Got hurt my 11th grade year. And when I was out, that's how I kind of fell in love with culinary arts. The chef from the school was very inspirational in my life to kind of get me to the next point in culinary. So I got a basketball scholarship and a culinary scholarship to go to Johnson & Wales and play basketball and cook.
And Johnson & Wales, for people who don't know, is an amazing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's the cream of the crop, when it comes to culinary schools. And so
I went to college in Providence, so I know
all about
it. Yep.
And I just like to eat, so I've heard of it.
Right. No, Johnson & Wales put some good chefs out through there. And so when I got there, I was like, well, I'm not gonna make it to the NBA anymore, so I better, figure out how to make some money. And
so this was your backup plan.
Yeah, no, yep. It turned out
to be a basketball star. I'll be a chef.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll write some cookbooks.
And
that
was the thing. Like, I think it was one of the articles that was wrote about me in high school saying star athlete turned chef. Yeah, so that was kind of the focus after.
I think it's super cool to know at such a young age what you're passionate about and be able to just pursue it. And
it came so easy for me. It was a very easy, transition from basketball to cooking. I think basketball kind of gave me the competitiveness and, that I used to translate to, being a chef so young and being an executive chef so young. So
at that point, were there chefs that you admired or looked up to, or?
Yeah, my uncle, he was a chef at PGA National in Palm Beach, the chef that I had in high school, but not many African-American chefs, that I can say, hey, I wanted to model my career, my company, and my cooking style or just my, craft after. So that's why it was kind of important for me to really get going and get rolling early. And I became executive chef at 21 for that reason, because I wanted to open the doors up then for African American chefs and cooks to, kind of see someone that looks like them.
That's come up on the podcast
Yeah,
before.
we've talked about that quite a bit. That if you can't see yourself doing something, you feel like it's not accessible to you.
Yep.
So I was going to ask you, even before you said that, you kind of falling into it as a young man, is that what informs your passion now and wanting to teach others?
Yeah, and when I was in high school, I had a mentor that was from Howard University. He's like Mr. Howard, and just like a real polished guy, and just had it all together. Right, but he always reached back to the community and gave back to kids, and just really could have been selfish, and had the necessities to do that. But he gave a lot of his time and money and commitment to the kids and to the community. So when I saw that, I was like, I definitely got to do this as I get to the next level. And so when I hit the ground running, I was like, all right, let's start a scholarship program. So my first executive chef position, I asked my GM to donate $1,000 to the school that I graduated from for the culinary program, because it was like going through a tough part and they needed food for the year. And so that's kind of like the first way I got my feet wet and started rolling.
Nice. And what are you seeing in Detroit? Like what we've talked about, what we see a lot is you have kind of the celebrity white chef.
Yep.
And a lot of the front of the house is white.
Yep.
And then you look in the back of the house and it's not white.
Yep.
It's the black and the brown, and so I know you're starting to do some things to change that pipeline as well. Yeah,
I mean, because even in Detroit, like you think of when you walk into a restaurant and you see a lot of the guys in the back of the house, right? They're not trained adequately to be a cook or a chef. They just like, all right, I'm going to drop some stuff in the fryer. I'm going to grill some stuff, but really don't have the understanding of what it looks like and feels like to be a chef, or to even see going to the next level. So. That's one of the things I'm tasked with to do, I tasked myself with to do. And then I joined on with Cleary University, which they just moved to Detroit to start their culinary program.
Where were they before?
In Howe.
Yeah. I was going to say, far out, right?
So definitely the guys that look like me not going to Howe.
Right. No. There's some MAGA hats out there too.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they're, right off Woodward, it was a great opportunity for, individuals to be right in Detroit and have a culinary school in the heart of Detroit is great. And so I came on to be the chef in residence to kind of help get their numbers up, and then also help, the community of this culinary space look a lot different, in the near future.
You know what this reminds me of? I keep thinking of Black Panther at the end of the movie where they open up the educational center.
Yes.
No pressure.
No biggie.
No. So,
so you're recruiting. So can we put a link on our website? I'm sure you're looking to show people.
No, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So we'll put that up.
That'd be great. And it started, when I was in New York, I started a culinary school in New York as well. So we put about 120 kids through the program so far. And 5 or 7 right now are at a culinary school, Johnson Wales or CIA.
Oh, wow.
So I adopted my daughter, and she's the first one that graduated through the program.
Oh, no
wow.
way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So, all right, so let's trace the path. So you were in Florida.
Yep.
How do you wind up in Miami?
So culinary school in Miami. Johnson was down there, so I finished that, and then when I was there, I started to kind of hit the ground running. Opened up Shula Steakhouse on South Beach. Was one of the cooks there, and then I left there and opened up the new Airlines Arena. And so I became sous chef there. Did that for a year, and then I at that point I was 20. So at 21, I moved to Williams Island Country Club, which is a private island in Aventura. And so we had 5 condo buildings with 800 condos per unit, and 4 restaurants, a banquet facility. And so our food and beverage was about $25 million. So I was executive chef of that for 3 years. And, during that time, I was like, all right, I'm making money for everybody else. And, I'm kind of getting notoriety, within the community and within Miami. I was like, I better start, my own company, and not quit, doing, hotels and restaurants, but, to also start thinking about how do I help, my family and my company and my career extend as well. So I started Chef Max Miami.
Yeah.
And literally 5 days after I incorporated the company, I got fired.
From your own company?
No, from Williams
From
Island.
the- yeah.
I was
Yeah, so they
You-
gave me a severance of
Interesting.
80 grand, 50 grand. And I kind of hit the ground running, man. And so
It's meant to be.
Yeah.
Is that a mindset shift when you have to start thinking about it as a business as well? Or
I don't know. I think at the time I didn't think about it because, I was executive chef for, Williams, for this property. And then something said, hey, start looking to do your own thing. And so I think it was just a natural shift. And I felt it, I guess, some way, somehow. And when we hit the ground, man, we just took off. And it was weddings and bar mitzvahs and all that stuff. And then 07, 08, the market dropped out, like we all know. And it slowed up, But then I was like, well, where's the money at still? NBA, basketball, football guys, entertainers. So I had one chef that was the chef for a Shack at the time. And I was like, why don't you let me come, kind of shadow what you do every day. Yeah, but I always wanted to be a personal chef, for a basketball player. So once I shadowed that one day, I was like, all right, this is where I'm going. There was a company called Carefree Lifestyles in South Beach that rented all the cars and mansions to all the guys for the weekend. And I started doing that catering for them. And so every weekend it was someone different, T.I., Fabulous, all the boxers, Mayweather, you name it, they were there. And so I was cooking for them on the weekends and got a phone call like one night. I had just finished cooking for, I think it was T.I. or I forget, I think it was T.I. I got a phone call at like 11. Hey, chef, can you make it over to the W? I was like, it's 12 o'clock at night. I'm done for the day.
Do you need like an emergency grilled cheese or something?
They're like, we got a client. He wants to eat before he goes out to the club. And I'm like, oh, Lord, like, here we go.
Right.
Yeah, so I made it to this market called Epicurean Market in South Beach. It's a very high-end, expensive market. And so I knew the guys there. They were already closed, but I knew they were in the back cleaning up. And so I was like, hey, I just need some stuff. And I got like lobster, stone crabs, grouper, you name it. It was crazy. Got to the condo and it was Amar'e Stoudemire and Amar'e. It was Drew Gooden. It was about 7 basketball players.
Wow.
And then their whole entourage. And so we made this dinner. And they're like, hey, chef, you got to come out with us tonight. I'm like, wow. So by this time, it was like 2:30. And so,
and they're just getting started.
Yeah,
club.
they start rolling. So a couple of SUVs pull up, a couple of Rolls Royces pull up, and then we huddled off to the club for a couple of hours. And so after that, I kind of stayed in contact with Amar'e. And during that time, I was still doing private chef work for about 1.5 years. And then in between, I took a consulting position at the casino. And during that time, and the hurricane came again. And so the consulting position was over, and I got a phone call, hey, chef, would you come to L.A. for the weekend and train with me and cook while I'm training? So it was Amar'e. So I got to L.A., and 4 days later, after I cooked for him for the whole week, he was like, I'm getting ready to go to the Knicks. Would you be my personal chef?
Wow.
I was like, okay, that's a big thing,
Yeah.
I go back home and pack my bags up until, I moved my whole life to New York. Never had been in New York, and, I've been once just for a quick day trip. And literally a month later, I was living in New York.
And you're how old at this point? Like
26, 27.
Whoa.
And when you do that, do you have to leave the whole business behind?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
What I did was my uncle was still a chef down in Miami,
Okay.
and then I was grooming a few guys that were, my sous chefs at the casino, and I had one guy that was very good. So I let them kind of run Chef Max Miami. And even now, like, we still get calls for, Chef Max Miami, so I let the guys in Miami handle that. And then I started Chef Max NYC when I got to New York, and, kind of did the same thing, just in hopes, like, if I get a phone call to move to L.A., then I got to leave New York too. So I started a company in New York to kind of set it up that way as well. But I ended up staying 7 years and being, Amar'e chef and cooking for him and his family, 6 days a week, 4 meals a day.
So what's the
4
difference?
meals a day. I love that.
What's the difference between, being a chef that's consulting casinos and,
Yep.
and doing all the other stuff that you're doing and being a personal
family,
chef to
yeah.
an NBA
man,
player?
it's tough. It's tough. I don't wish it upon no one.
Really? Being a personal chef is harder.
it's
I would
fun,
say,
but it has its it's ups and downs because your life become their life is your life, and you're with them every day. They're the first person you see in the morning. They get out of bed and you're cooking in the kitchen. So it's a lot of babysitting. It's a lot of
psychology.
Yeah. I mean,
is there a regimen that they have to stick to because of?
Yeah, I mean, certain teams, depending on just how high level of player your client is. The team kind of keeps them in a regiment. They watched Amar'e because he had some his knees had a few issues, his eyes had a few issues, so they made sure certain things were getting done. But so were you working with doctors then too? Yeah, so I would talk to the nutritionist and talk to the doc and hey chef, he needs to drop 20 pounds or he needs to drop 5 pounds or he needs to gain 10 pounds, and so there was a lot of that. And then he was very intuitive of what he put in his body and how it and what it did to his body. So it was fun, but it's tough because one day we sitting here and tomorrow morning I got to go to Europe and with a day's notice, and then get to the plane, and the plane has changed. Now you're going to LA, and so
and then you have to know somewhere to buy all the ingredients and do all the preparation and all these different places. Huh.
Yeah, so it's always a balancing act when you're personal chef, but it's fun. Just it's good for I think guys when they're first coming out, and they're trying to get their feet wet and kind of figure their niche out. But some guys, I know a lot of personal chefs, that's the only thing they want to do. And so maybe when it's all said and done, I'll go back to being a personal chef before I retire.
Your sunset years.
Right. Yeah.
Will you talk a little bit about your time on Chopped?
Yeah, Chopped was cool. It's one of those experiences where you just never forget. Especially as a chef, just because it's so intense. It was kind of like my first time on a competition show like that, and I was like, I've at that point when I was on Chopped, I was like, all right, I'm kind of already made it in my career. I don't need this to
get your exposure or your next thing. Yeah.
But it was fun. I'm glad I did it. You walk in and when I see it, you see it.
Wow.
And just the challenges of some of the tough ingredients in the baskets, because you can't practice for it. You don't know what's going to be in it. You don't know. It's like, all right, you literally walk in the kitchen and they tell you, hey, here's the basket. You can take 5 minutes to look in the pantry and see some of the items you might want to use. That's kind of communal to everybody. And then you get in and go, man. So,
what was in your basket?
First round was pickles, pig feet, butter beans in a can, coleslaw mix, sweet potato fries, sweet potato chips.
Okay.
And so I did a kind of a pickles, pig feet cassoulet, kind of like a broth kind of deal, with a Caribbean slaw, and then I rehydrated the chips and put that on top. Yeah, so that was a tough one.
Nice.
And then the second one, it was even tougher. You had an apple pie in the damn thing.
A whole apple pie?
A whole apple pie. So it was like venison, apple pie, watercress, and eggplant. Like, what are you going to do with all this? Yeah, but no, it was good. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Wow. And at what point you talked a little bit about how you would come up with a restaurant idea and you'd shelved it. What made you finally pull the trigger and come back to Detroit? What did Detroit Shipping Company say to you that made you say yes?
Well, before Detroit Shipping Company had reached out, I was doing Revolver. I did 2 Revolver dinners. That sold out, within 8 hours of Peter putting it up.
This is over in Hamtramck, right?
Yep. And so that was really dope. And when I got back, I was like, oh, this is cool. People like really coming out, enjoying food at that level. Because then I kicked it up. So I just wanted to see how high I can go, price point, and
that's when it was still, pretty new in Detroit. That was a little risky, I guess you could say. Yeah.
And so to sell out back to back, 3 days, I was the only chef that did 3 days like that.
That's a big deal, yeah.
So that was kind of spiked my interest. And then I came and did a pop-up at Oakland Avenue Farms. We did a dinner there right on the farm. And I was like, all right. Yeah.
Now, at this point, are you going all over the country and doing pop-up things like this? Or is there a reason you're coming here?
No, it was kind of the plan. I had put on my vision board 16 that I was thinking about moving back, So I wanted to move back, start a school, start a farm. And so I was kind of tilling back and forth of when, how, and, living in New York, man, you have so much going on. You have so many ties, so many great things. And it's I really want to give my New York life up. And at that time, I was the director of the New York Food Bank, and I sat on the board of New York Food Bank. So I had a lot of stuff going on there that was really cool. But I kind of miss family. I got burnt out of Detroit and out of New York, and was like, all right, let's go somewhere else. And then all of the success I had just doing pop-ups is like, okay.
Clearly, Detroit was hungry for you, pun intended.
right,
but
right.
literally, like you could make a real impact. Not that you weren't making an impact in New York, but it probably felt a little different.
It feels better.
More open climate.
Yeah, and then I'm home.
Yeah.
I didn't want to move back to Detroit and then everybody's like, oh, you moved back because, Detroit is an open canvas. I think, it's an open canvas, but it's a city where you had so much hard work going on.
Yeah,
exactly. That was really
Yeah.
doing the work and
meant something to you.
Yeah, I didn't want to come back and just step on everybody's toes. I was already here doing the work.
Exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
I just wanted to come in and kind of help out in that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can use my celebrity or what I am as a chef and open doors for everyone else to break in a little quicker and faster, then that's what I'm here for.
You've been back a year and a half now.
Yep.
In the time that you were gone, how has the food scene changed, and what surprised you when you got back here?
Well, I always say this. Like, I growing up, I didn't really know of like the high end restaurants in Detroit, right? And I don't know if we really had that many of them. I knew that it was good food in Detroit. You can find places that give good food. But was it a James Beard Award-winning restaurant? No. Yeah. Was it somewhere where you can go and experience a 5-star restaurant? No. Mm-hmm. But so now being back and have those caliber restaurants, have those caliber chefs coming in, or that were here already now getting their shine, it's pretty cool to see. I think we, as restaurateurs and as chefs, we got to get back to a lot of the basics, and we can do all this cool elevated stuff, but what about just a good, down home, just good, great food, and doing a restaurant like that? But it's cool to see. I think it's happening, and the food scene is emerging. It's not Chicago. It's not New York. Right. It's not San Fran. It's not Miami. I think Detroit to have its own little niche, and if everybody can kind of do your own thing versus trying to say, hey, I want to be like Chicago, I want to be like San Fran, I want to be like New York, because you're not going to do it, right? It's just,
It's that old quote, like, don't be a second-rate version of someone else. Be the best
absolutely.
Rate,
and that's one of the things that I dislike about, hearing people talk about how the food scene in Detroit. Like, come on, man, just do your own thing. Figure out your lane and create that and do it great.
There's a word that I love in food, which is terroir, which I don't know what the dictionary definition is, but it basically means the way the place informs the food and the taste. What does that word mean in the context of Detroit? I mean, what is Detroit terroir?
I mean, I don't think we have it yet. I think
evolving.
I think it's evolving,
Is that odd? I mean, this is a city that's been around for a long time. When you talk about the music of Detroit, we know what it is. Even, we've talked about it on this podcast, even when you talk about the stand-up comedy of Detroit, you know what it is.
But if I ask you, like, what's Detroit food known for?
Coney.
Junk food.
Fago.
Pizza.
Like, you can't even really say pizza because pizza, it's not a thing. Like,
and some people in Detroit don't even know what you mean by Detroit pizza.
Like Detroit pizza, like, what is that?
Yeah,
like, no, that's not, what was Detroit known for as far as food?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
So, I think now is like time for Detroit to create its own lane. Like, it's not, we don't have to go after,
Then what will the influences be then? The cultural influences, the strands that are tied together?
And that's the thing I think, that what we need to focus on, right? So Southwest have their thing going on, right? And so they do that well, So, like, West Side Detroit, what's that known for? Is that soul and the barbecue? What's the East Side known for? Like, what's Midtown and Downtown going to be like? But I think it's just a melting pot of so many different, cuisines. And you got Dearborn that's, pouring their, whole Middle Eastern thing going. And so it's just a melting pot of, like, just different cultures and different pockets, And it doesn't have to be like we have to be known this side for this or this side for that. Just be known for just putting out great food.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to your choices too. Like, you're doing what you're passionate about, Caribbean food, but it also fulfills a niche. There hasn't really been. Yeah,
that too, and one of the things that that I really want to focus on and change and because even we can do all this great food, right? But what about the service?
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know, so like
Yes.
that's a big thing. That's what we should be really focused on. Like,
Yep.
all right, we can
The whole
get,
experience.
Yeah, we can get the food out there, but if the server can't, really get it out and express it, doesn't matter how good as I'm a chef, and she can't explain that plate to you when it gets to the table, then I can't go out to every table and explain it. So it's one of those things. I think we got a long way to go. I think it's happening, but
I think we need a pipeline and a training program for that.
Oh yeah,
too.
and that's why one of the reasons Cleary is such a a big thing to be in the city, and it could be a great asset for Detroiters. And I think too, to answer one of your questions, like Detroit has so many urban farms, right? But you haven't seen a urban farm restaurant yet.
No, a direct farm to table, right?
You haven't seen it, so why not
True.
put a restaurant on the farm? In the city of Detroit. So it's
Get on that.
right.
Yeah.
Get on that.
You know what? We talked to Bees in the D a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about the hives that they were putting up in places like the Foundation Hotel and restaurants that were
Eastern
using
Market Brewing
the honey.
Company, and
It's kind of along those lines.
Yeah, no, and one of the things that that we do, we use a lot of local produce and veggies as much as we can. I love D-Town. I love Oakland Ave. I think just they're putting a lot of great product out there, so I try to use them as much as I can, especially during the summer months. It's amazing to see the product that they put out.
Are there people in the local food community that you really admire, or
Yeah, no. I mean, like in the food space of like Davita Davidson from Detroit Food Lab, she's very inspiring to
they're
see.
incredible.
Yeah, see what they're doing over there. I worked with Detroit Food Academy lately. They do some good stuff.
Their mitten bites are
Yeah,
delicious.
There's some cool chefs out here, that's doing some good stuff. I was actually on Sunday coming up. We're doing a wedding, so it's me, Chef Chris, and Chef Tony from Darden Catering. This couple couldn't afford to do their reception, so they had a reception on their lawn, and so people was like really on Facebook going hard on them, and just downplaying just that special day for them. They had lost their daughter, I think, and they didn't have any money to do it. So I guess the news stepped in, and someone called me and was like, "Hey, chef, would you be interested in catering this wedding on Sunday?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so I got all the chefs together, and so we were going to do this real cool menu on Sunday for them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So so it's like a lot of that kind of stuff,
really
and I
special,
think So
well, Detroit's a small town. We come together and we get stuff done.
No.
So you've got the two restaurants. I've always heard that there's going to be a third on the way.
Yeah, no. So the third one, which is kind of my next step up, so we did something that was for the community, and then now Coop is real fun and innovative, and Midtown, downtown, kind of this whole artsy area. So the next one's going to kind of be just speak truly to who I am as a chef, and so a little more high end, but African and Caribbean diaspora. I've been traveling to Africa and the Caribbeans lately. I know everyone's like figuring out why he's been gone so much, but
research.
Research. Huh? So been bringing back different stuff for the restaurant, and so it'll be a real cool concept. It's going to be in Midtown as well, and I guess that area is called the New Center area now, I guess.
Or North End.
Yep. So hopefully we'll be ready to go this time next year. So we'll be sitting in the restaurant, maybe doing the podcast there.
Well, I know the building where you mentioned you're signing the lease. I had the opportunity just to hear about it and tour their sales office, and it looks spectacular. And at the time I toured there, I go, no, we're going to have a signature restaurant in here.
Yep. So it's two.
So
it's an Asian restaurant going next door to me, and then our African Caribbean.
So that's super cool. It's going to be a beautiful spot.
Oh no, that building is gorgeous. And I was just like, they had the original stone piece of the Cadillac, the first emblem that the Cadillac had.
Yes.
So they had it from like the early, I think it was like the 30s or something.
Yeah, I think 1930s.
Yeah. And so they had it on top of the building, and they saved that. So I'm really, interested to see stuff like that and all those little cool little pieces, that they had going on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's going to be called Honey.
That'd be called Honey. Yep.
Yep.
Love it.
And you've also got a couple of cookbooks under your belt.
Yeah, so we have Cooking with Amar'e, which is the first cookbook. So it's a book between he and I where I kind of taught him how to cook for pros and rookies, 105 recipes. And that was kind of a real fun book. You know, it had his kids in it, had my daughter in it. It was like just kind of me and him just having fun in the kitchen. And it was like my way to get my feet wet in the cookbook world. And then I came back with the Marley Coffee Cookbook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never seen a coffee cookbook before. What exactly is a coffee cookbook?
So we took... So Marley Coffee has 8 different coffees and different blends of it. Some coming from Jamaica. Well, all of us come from Jamaica, but different, coffees from Ethiopia, different blends. He's buying and farming from all different, regions. And so I took those notes and was like, hey, let's do a cookbook.
Yeah.
And so he was like, you gonna do a cookbook with my coffee? I was like, yeah. And so it's like I'm using some as rubs, I'm using some as marinades, I'm using some as vinaigrettes, and so it's a really cool book, 100 recipes. It came out last year.
So is that your secret coffee? Because, I mean, we've already talked about 8 bazillion things you do. So did you just drink a lot of coffee?
No, it was just like literally we were at the game one day and he was telling me about the coffee, that in the line. I was like, well, send me some. Let me taste it and, let me just kind of play with it a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm really not a, crazy coffee drinker.
Okay. You have other secrets. We'll
you're
get to that later.
Right. I'll mix the coffee with something else, but no.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's very rare you see me drinking coffee, but during the time I wrote the book, I was drinking it every day. And just kind of just getting those notes. And what I did was kind of treated the coffee like wine, kind of the same kind of process that I would cook with wine. That's what I did with coffee. So the lighter roast, and it was kind of played it like it was a white wine, the darker roast, and played it like it was a big cab. And so, it's a very fun book, very colorful. I love the book. I think just the front page and the cover is really dope. It kind of speaks rich and royalness. And you talk about Bob Marley, son. So,
wow, yeah.
How much, legacy and richness you need in that. Cool. So, that was a fun book.
So you were talking about your travels, and I wanted to ask you about your I Am Hope Foundation and some of the places you've gone, Haiti and Africa. Yep.
So I Am Hope, my partner Tashawn Phillips, she's out of Miami. She called, and I had I Am a Chef Foundation, and then I had 86 Hunger, which we were getting into the inner cities and cooking for different kids every weekend and teaching culinary arts and getting into the inner cities and teaching, how to use food and make it sustainable in your community. So I did that all through New York and Miami. So then when we hooked up with I Am Hope, it was like, all right, let's take this on another level. She's from the islands. So our first trip was to St. Thomas. Right after the hurricane, and so it was very, very sad to see just what they went through. And so we went down and fed the kids for a whole week. I think each day I fed like 600 kids each week.
Wow.
And then we left there. We went to Kenya, Nairobi, and we're just going on a mission trip. And while we're there, I just kind of got inspired. I was like, well, we should maybe adopt this school. So we adopted the school, and we've been back 4 times since then, and kind of just cooking. We had a shipping container delivered there where I turned into a kitchen. So now they can cook, inside a enclosed area. So
you're teaching a man how to fish.
Yeah,
yes, totally.
Yeah.
What surprised me is, giving back seems like it's a constant theme in what you've done over the years. I mean, where does that come from?
I mean, I guess, just my family, man. They were so, my mom was so inspiring to see her, take her last and give it away, and just always like be blessed to have and to really go without, not go without, because she just, was blessed because she gave everything away. She's just, community driven. And, I always said that's if I get it, if I get a platform, I'm going to let everybody else eat, so, that's how I get my blessings.
Mm-hmm. All right, are you ready to play a little game?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, here's how this works. This is you're only the second person to play this game on a podcast, and it's an absolutely new game. We're going to ask you for some rapid-fire recommendations, and we just want to hear what you've got.
Your favorite things.
Yeah. Starting with this. Obviously, chefs work late hours. When you're hungry at the end of a work shift, where's your favorite place to go for after-hours food?
My favorite place to go for after-hour food in Detroit, Chops Bar and Grill on Grand River, which is like literally a mile from River Bistro.
Okay.
Has some really good food. And great cocktails, and it's kind of my Cheers bar. I find my Cheers bar all over the country, and so like that's my Cheers bar with good food. So yeah, that's my favorite place for after work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Faygo flavor?
Yes, favorite Faygo flavor.
I know it's
hard to say, right?
Favorite Faygo. Oh, wow.
Red Pop.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Nice.
When I was a kid, I used to drink that all the time. And I used to get whoopings because I used to wear it, dripping on my shirt.
Oh,
and so I used to
evidence.
I used to go to a private school. I had an all white shirt on. So I had to do it and sneak and do it. So yeah. But it got to be cold and like slushy though. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
When you have a day off, and I don't know if you ever do because you sound like
Yeah.
you work pretty hard, but
Doesn't
when
really
you
sound
do you have a favorite outdoor spot in Detroit that you like to spend it?
Yeah, my favorite day off outdoor space. I love golfing, so I'm a big golfer, and then I play Rouge a lot. So it kind of reminds me of being in a park and golfing at the same time. So yeah, so that's my favorite outdoor space in Detroit.
Dream person that you could cook for, if you could be a personal chef to anybody.
Dream person to cook for, probably Oprah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. I always been like fond of Oprah and like just wanted to pick her brain and kind of see just how she thinks and eats, and because you see she doing so much in the food space now, and she's been all over the world doing stuff, and it's like, all right, let's see what you really like to get there.
If she runs for president in 2020,
Right.
you're gonna go
Right here,
follow her on the campaign trail
yeah,
and cook for her.
I'll be her chef. Yeah.
Let's see here. You have a favorite musical artist from Detroit?
Favorite music artist from Detroit. I guess two of my top favorite, Anita and Aretha. I listen to a lot of Anita. She's my girl. I always said I would marry her if I was her age.
My claim to fame
Right.
is when I worked at Fairlane Mall in the Hallmark store there, I sold her a planner.
Oh, nice.
I met Anita Baker and I sold her a Franklin planner.
Yeah, no, that's probably my
Yeah,
favorite. Yeah,
it was sweet.
I think you should open a restaurant and name it after Aretha because I think that we need some more things in this town that are named
Oh no! What, like 3 now? The
Oh, my
Shane
God.
Park now, and then what? The Highway now?
Well, yeah, and Aretha's Jazz Club at Music
you're
Hall.
right. Wow!
Grand
wow!
opening
Yeah!
coming up.
Wow! Gotta check that out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
When you were away from Detroit, what was the Detroit thing that you missed the most?
The thing I missed the most, corned beef sandwiches.
Really?
Yeah. So
They don't have good ones in New York, or
yeah, I mean, but not this kind. Like,
Oh.
it's good corned beef sandwiches in New York. We got Cat's Deli. You got some all the top dogs. So all the Jewish style delis and sandwiches, but not on the onion roll and messy and mustard and hot. It's like I like going to Coney Island for that. So that was either my first stop, and then my last stop before I went back to New York. Every time I came in. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And last question, we know obviously you're a big basketball fan. Now that you've been back in Detroit for a year and a half, what NBA team do you root for?
Oh boy.
I'm a diehard Laker, man. So,
Ah.
I love going to the Pistons games,
Yeah.
but I'm still a Laker. So,
We won't tell anybody.
yeah, no. I always, every city, man. Even like when I was with Amar'e, and I'm sitting courtside at the Knicks games, and every time they played the Lakers, he was like,
What? You're rooting against
he
him?
was like, I know you're going for that.
Just slip a little something in his food.
Yeah. And
Take him
so
off his game.
I never could wear a Laker jersey to the game, but but no, it was always fun to see that. Yeah.
Well, Chef Maxell Hardy, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Chef Max, thanks for
Sure.
stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
River Bistro over on the west side, and of course you've got Coop over at the Detroit Shipping Company, and soon Honey, hopefully next year.
Next year, we'll be ready to go, man.
And where can we find all the information about your cookbooks and everything
Yep.
you're doing?
So you can go to social media and all that good stuff. It's Chef Max Hardy at everything, and then our new Chef Max Hardy website is going to launch in probably 8 days.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just
Breaking news.
Yeah, and then you can get both of the books at Barnes and Noble or Amazon. Amazon's probably the easier one.
We'll put links up to them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so
And
Cooking with Amar'e, and then the Marley Coffee Cookbook.
And
Nice.
can people follow you on social media as well?
Yep, Chef Max Hardy on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Yeah, shoot me some likes. I need to get my numbers up this year.
Well, thanks for stopping by, man. We
Absolutely,
really
thanks for having me
appreciate it.
for sure.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.